Amanda Milford here, and I am just going to look at the market here in South Surrey, White Rock. And I help busy professionals who have older kids, maybe still at school or at university or finished school and university, and also have parents that they are caring for, possibly to need more tech support, right? Or else a little bit more, right? And it's a very busy time in our lives. I'm in that time, and I find that I'm spread pretty thin sometimes, right? Looking after everybody. So the South Surrey White Rock market is showing signs of like the inventory is coming down a little bit from the summertime, which is pretty normal for December, to be honest. We've had 135 homes withdrawn from the market from the beginning of November. That tells me, and 62 from the beginning of December, and that tells me that people are not getting the pricing that they want, right? So they think that they're going to take their home off the market and wait for better times in the springtime. And I don't know if we're going to have better times in the springtime, to be completely honest, right? Since the beginning of November, 65 homes have sold. Since the beginning of December, 14 homes have sold. So it tells us that the sales are slowing down a little bit. That's also seasonal, but we've had a very low year of sales, right? So if I look at the stats here of what is the stats look like for the number of sales for the year, we've just kind of hovered much lower than last year, for example, and we've had a bigger downturn in sales than last year. And last year's sales weren't great either, right? The year before, in 2023, we had a lot more activity, specifically in the springtime. But this year, we've had just a longer downturn in the market. And when I'm looking at the sale price, we have in November, the average sale price was 1,991,441, and in December so far it's 1,566,201, basically 1.6 million. And that's just because the different homes that have sold give a different skewed of the market, right? So in November, there were 22 sales alone of homes above 2 million, right? When in December, that's not the case, right? So the number of homes that have sold this month is about 6% of homes that have sold. And that's higher than the springtime, to be honest. 6% of all homes listed and withdrawn from the market. That's what that statistic is. So these are the data points. I look at these for a specific reason. So it helps me to understand what is the buyer's mind at the moment, what are they affording. So definitely at the moment, the people that are out shopping are shopping for lower end homes at the moment. And that can all change on a dime, just by the way as well. So the November homes were selling 7% less than list price. And now in December, it's only 6% less than list price. So it's actually decreased, right? And, you know, where I say, you know, the homes that are not selling, for example, are the ones that are priced above the market. I talk so much above the market because when homes are priced above the market, nobody comes. Nobody comes to see your home. Doesn't matter how nice it is. Doesn't matter how wonderful you have staged it or cleaned it or photographs. In this market, that is really a price-sensitive market. The buyers are out buying where they see value. They don't see value because your home is overpriced, they are not going to come and buy it. So the sales to active in November was 9.9%. That's actually what type of buyer's market it was. And that's on the cusp of being a balanced market. But in December, it's 2.4%. So it's dropped right down again. So it really is an extreme buyer's market currently and so it tells me that buyers are being very careful, and I know they're being very careful. And even though interest rates are holding, so they haven't decreased the interest rates this last, buyers will go out, they'll find a house they like, they write an offer. It may be a low ball offer, right? A really low ball, and maybe the sellers are being a little bit offended by the offer that comes in. And then it's a matter of negotiating and trying to get the price that everybody's happy with. But I still think that some sellers have a disconnect, and maybe it's financial motivation, right? That they actually can't sell for less because then they'd be losing so much money. And it's very apparent if you bought your home in, say, July 2021, see a distinct difference in the sale price. And that's what I found is people have definitely affected by it. Like you usually buy a home for 5 years and then sell it, and 5 to 8 years. Anybody that bought the last 5 years in July 2021 would be losing money now selling in this market, right? So it lends itself then to a difficult scenario where your mortgage is up for renewal and you had the cheap interest rate, and now you don't. You've got a reasonable interest rate and you maybe can't afford the monthly payments. So we started to see some foreclosures start to come up, and it really does tell us the difference between March 2021, the number of sales. There were 218 sales in March alone in South Surrey, White Rock, and again in November there were 54 sales. So that again gives you the discrepancy between the 2021 market and the 2025 market. And so I found then that people definitely do feel the pinch when they get their offers, and that's where it comes down to motivation. What is your motivation to sell? Because if your motivation is to sell, to move in this market, you know what, it's not such a bad market to do that in because it's relative. Once you've sold, you're in good negotiating power to purchase again. And some sellers have to sell in this market. So there are deals to be made. It's just to find them, right? So moving, as I said, it's a good market to move in. If you're thinking of upsizing, for example, and going to a bigger home, maybe you need more space for your adult kids that have come back and need a place to stay and save some money to buy a home, or maybe your mom and dad need a place to stay because they can't stay in their home anymore. And it is important then to think about pricing your home within the market, and I can always talk to you about that. It's not above the market, it's within the market, right? And there are different ways of pricing a home in this market, and make sure you understand both ways. And don't try and test the market. If I don't get my price, I'm not selling. Don't do that. And I find many people at the moment are in kind of crossroads. Life doesn't slow down and doesn't stop. So we're all going through different phases, and there are people that I have found in their homes, maybe parents of yours that are 90-year-olds and living alone in their homes, and they're lonely. They can't maintenance of the home, so the home starts to deteriorate. 90 years old who lived in his home in Ocean Park, and there was mold in the home, and he just lived in it, right? So it is a specific thing that you need to plan and have a procedure on how you're going to do it. It's not worth having. If you want to know more about how I sell a home, there are 5 distinct stages that I put a home through when I'm selling it, and I have established over my 11 years of being a realtor here in South Surrey, White Rock.